Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Whatever, Whenever, the show where we talk about whatever we want, whenever we want. I am Robin.
Beep.
What?
Sorry, I'm the Mentok, the prophet, YouTube savior. I figured that was a good intro, but I guess it didn't work. You can tell I'm running out of ideas.
Yeah, that's alright.
I'm the whenever part of this podcast, I
And I'm
suppose.
I'm the whatever. I don't know. I like how lately you've been like, I don't know, like ruining the intro every episode.
Yeah, this is the part where everybody clicks away.
Yeah.
You look at the statistics. This is probably the part.
Yeah, probably. Uh, well, I think that today we should revisit a topic that we talked about a few episodes ago, and that is Pokemon Legends Arceus, because I have it now and I've been playing it, and I have some things I want to say about it.
You're well versed now.
Yes, I'm like a good chunk of the way into the game. I just beat the second frenzied Pokemon, so that's cool.
All
I did
right,
a little.
so I mean, I just for the record, everyone, I beat the main story probably like yesterday. It was definitely yesterday. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I beat it yesterday. We're not really gonna discuss spoilers or anything, but like I think honestly the game mechanics are what's basically the best topic.
yeah. I honestly I really like the game mechanics a lot. I do wish that I guess battles were a little bit more dynamic, but aside from that, like it's all pretty good. I like I know a lot of people like don't like the Pokemon Go stuff with just catching the Pokemon and then all the size differences and all that, but I think they work very well in the Hisui world that the game is set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I so I think we talked a little bit about this, but how do you feel about this game starting as like basically an isekai anime? It's just all right, boy, we're sending you back to the past.
I actually didn't know that was the premise until like I booted up the game because
Same.
I've just been avoiding that as much as possible. So when that happened, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." Because it's literally like I don't know. Do you remember Tobuscus?
Yes.
Okay, he did that one song called like the dramatic song or something where it's just him like it sounds dramatic and that's the whole joke. And there's this one part where he says God descends from heaven and gives you $100, and I that's like all I could think of the second I saw that opening.
I mean, what's funny is and by the way, this happens within the first 3 to 4 minutes of the game, so this is a non-spoiler territory still, for anyone that hasn't played it yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're basically dropped into the middle of the past of Sinnoh, but it's called the Hisui region, right? And you're given this. I think it's implied that Arceus does send you there. He says that at the very beginning, and then he gives you like a Arceus phone, right? So I remember this is just Pokemon fans in a nutshell, though, Robin, and I think you'll laugh at this. So like I remember they were showing trailers to this, right? And the trainer would whip out his phone every so often, and everybody was just like, "Oh my god, this game doesn't know what it wants to be. Why is there cell phones? Either we're in the past or in the future. Get it together, Game Freak, etc., etc., etc." Like it was like this huge deal
It's just
that this
it's
guy
just
was using a phone.
it's just Pokemon fans will bitch about literally anything.
Right. So I kind of like smugly laughed to myself when in the first 2 minutes it's like, "Hey, you're from this time, but you're going back to the past."
Yeah, and
Um,
it's like they literally the second you start up the game, that little like plot hole is just immediately explained away, and it's like
yeah,
it's your phone. It's just that Arceus is like, "Hey, I'm God, lol," and then he like touches your phone and makes it cooler.
he makes it like a god phone. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, and the thing is with that is like that's it. That's the only technology you're really gonna find in
yeah,
this game. Your Pokédex is literally a notebook,
yep,
and it's all basic. So That whoever said that, I'm wondering if if they deleted their tweets.
I hope so.
But I guess like back to the mechanics. So for those who don't know, Robin's a very long time Pokemon fan. I am more of a casual fan, right? I would consider myself more a diehard Sonic fan, but I love Pokemon and I know pretty much a lot about the series in general, but I would never call myself like an expert or a hardcore fan. Um,
Yeah, it's like
so it's like two sides of the spectrum here.
it's like I'm more of a casual fan of Sonic, but I'm really into Pokemon, and you're like a casual Pokemon fan, and you're really into Sonic. So it's like we kind of balance each other out.
Right. So
Yeah,
now that you have your hands on it, it's cool to see that you like the mechanics because I think a lot of it, well, Pokemon Go is definitely a starter,
yeah,
uh, but then that was kind of transferred into the whole Pokemon Let's Go thing, which I was like, oh, you can just catch Pokemon and get experience? What is that? And then I tried it out. I'm like, okay, this kind of does make sense. I'm cool with that.
and
And they kind of put it to this game as well.
yeah, and I like I genuinely do like the like boss battles that they have in the game, where like it's you having to like physically like weaken the Pokemon before you can like send out your own Pokemon to temporarily battle it,
Right.
because it's like I don't know, it's like you see it in the anime where like there's like these super strong Pokemon, and like it's not just the Pokemon who have to fight them, but it's like the trainers have to like dodge their attacks and stuff, and that's never been in the games really like at all, aside from like that part in Gen 2. Oh god, there's an earthquake or something. Oh no, it's
Duck.
not. It's just the washing machine, I think.
Oh,
But
okay.
my
What
but
what
my
a
room,
difference,
yeah,
man.
my room is like right next to it, and it's like a little bit lower, so I feel the vibrations whenever it goes off.
We were about to get headlines, man. Yeah, podcasters experience earthquake while it occurs.
I don't know. Maybe it's them like doing cannons or something at the base. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah. Anyways, the like they like show you like uh in the anime they have those like trainers like dodging their attacks and stuff because they're
Yeah.
dangerous. And the only time they really do that in the games is in Gen 2 when has his Dragonite use Hyper Beam on a motherfucker,
Yeah.
which
I and to your point, like I think the anime explores a lot of things that should be explored in the games, but just aren't. You know, like of course they have a lot more time to do that because you know they're putting out a ton of episodes with these seasons that come out, right? So it's like a bunch of towns that don't exist in the games. Um, you know, like tournaments that don't exist in the games, things like that. That
yeah,
seems kind of like a no brainer, and that's not what I'm expecting really. But like you know, like the size of the Pokemon are totally different in the anime than they are in like the actual Pokedex and stuff like that. And I guess just to get back to your point, just up to this point, we don't see like too much interaction between trainers and Pokemon, or like trainers dodging Pokemon attacks, etc., which is finally introduced here. You would
yeah,
think like in the wild, Pokemon would try to avoid you, the trainer, so they either run or they would attack. Like um, which is what's been introduced in this game. So I like that aspect to it because you don't even have to throw out your Pokemon in a lot of scenarios. Like you can literally get through a lot of this game without even like fighting. Um, even though there are forced battles indeed, but it's just like
yeah.
you can just do everything
Like
as the trainer, which is pretty cool and a nice workaround and a nice brand new mechanic. Keeps things fresh.
I also like the way the Pokédex is done in this game because I hate to admit this, but I've never once completed the Pokédex legitimately because I just find it boring. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, like I get that, like a lot of people are like, oh, collectathon stuff, it's fun, and it's like I get that, but like in like a game or something like that, I don't see the appeal of like completing uh huge checklist. That's why I haven't done like every single quest in Skyrim or like every quest in a Fallout game or even like done all the collectibles in like a platforming game I like, except for Limbo because that was pretty easy to do that. But but like uh, in this game, I just just the fact that you don't. First of all, you only need like a research level of 10 to have that entry completed.
Right.
And second of all, it's like a lot more engaging where like because you're actively doing research on the Pokemon, you have to like actually like go out and catch and study them more and like like see them do these moves and stuff, and that encourages you to evolve your own and
Yeah.
stuff. And I don't know, I just it's more engaging to me and I like it a lot more.
So in story wise, it makes a lot of sense too because this is around the time where Pokeballs are invented, in a
Yeah,
sense.
like they
So
refer to them as a new invention, and like the native people of Hisui even like question if it's morally okay for you to be using them at times.
and they're freaking terrified of Pokemon. Like they're just so
Yeah,
curious and like it's just
yeah,
funny that like some of these villager quests you do, they're just absolutely terrified of even stepping foot outside the village, which makes sense.
yeah. And like
Um,
there's even like that one lady who's like it's not really a spoiler because it's one of the first like side quests you get in the game, but she's like oh show me like a
there's a
Starly.
Starly, yeah.
Yeah, and like you're like she's looking at it from like afar, and then she's like, "Oh, it's so cute," and you're like, "Oh, do you want to pet it?" And she like freaks out and like runs backward and is like, "Nope, I'm good."
I just wanted to see it, man.
Yeah,
So like, it's cool to see that kind of thing, like how they overcame that type of stuff. And like, so just being part of that survey core in the game makes a lot of sense, and what you have to do to get a full entry in the Pokedex, because you're literally starting from basically ground zero. um it's like if you think of like the future games, right, in Sinnoh, um you'd imagine that Pokedex has entries based on things collected from people in the past generations. So I'd like to think that the Sinnoh Pokedex was created by you going to the past and doing all the work and writing this down in a freaking notebook. So
yeah, and I one thing I love about the game is that like the more like you progress in the story and even like some of the side quests you do, the village will actually like build up more as well. Like
yes,
you can get more plots of farmland, and like they'll start constructing more buildings as more people move in.
and there'll be slight changes to the music as well. Nice little
Yeah,
touch. I appreciate that stuff.
yeah, it's all really cool.
So I'm glad to hear that you like it, because I'm kind of in the same boat. But there is one thing, and this is my opinion on this debate of whether like it's a spin-off or a mainline thing. It could be a main, if they're gonna go with this formula for future games. Let's say like the next version game that comes out, I wouldn't be opposed to like the wild area having these mechanics, and then maybe the routes are just traditional. Um, Something like that, or just like a nice little hybrid between the two. I kind of feel that this game, what it lacks is building that team. The focus is not on creating that ideal team that you go through all these challenges with, from first gym to the last to Elite Four. um I think it's more of just like really discovering Pokemon and just being that survey core person that's learning more about them. You're going to be switching Pokemon a lot, and you have a lot more access to Pokemon in this game. Like they're everywhere. Uh,
Yeah,
Versus like a mainline game where you have to walk through the grass and okay, there's only a certain amount in this area. Like now that it's open world, they're literally flying through the air. They're swimming in the water. They're running through the grass. They're in the caves. So it encourages you to catch a lot of Pokemon, and multiple times, not just like, all right, you caught this Pikachu, you're good. Um, I think that there's a place for that though, Robin, and that's why like I would love this to stay as like a spin-off series, and I wouldn't mind them expanding, even if it's Game Freak working on it and they just like hand off the main line to somebody else in Nintendo. I don't know, but
yeah,
I think that having the mechanics separate but taking the best features from each would be a nice way to move forward, in my opinion.
yeah, and I think that would be definitely good. Um, like to like have like a hybrid of them, or like I don't know, kind of like keep more traditional stuff for like remakes maybe.
Right.
I'm not sure how they would go about that, but you know,
Yeah.
um, Yeah, one thing I do like about this like gameplay stuff is the like the time space uh vortexes that open up randomly. They're like
Yes.
these little there's like these little like limited time challenge areas where you can get like rare items, namely like the plate shards that are all over the place, like the red shard, the green shard, all that. But then also like really powerful Pokemon will just spawn in, even like some later game stuff that like you wouldn't expect to be there. Like I got like a Sneasel in the first area, and I haven't
Hmm.
even seen them in like the wild yet at all. So yeah,
Um. So yeah, I mean, regarding that too, like I'm not sure. Someone has to confirm or deny this. I have to look into this further, right? But
yeah,
I think that space time distortion is also exclusive to Pokemon that they couldn't explain being around in that time.
huh?
So like I've seen some Magnemites in there, but I have not seen, and I've beaten the game, but I have not seen a Magnemite anywhere else in the game except in that space time. Also Porygon. So
Oh, yeah, that would make sense then.
yeah, so
'Cause-
those two are in like distortions, which if that's, and I think that's the case. If I'm what I'm saying is right, I do like that attention to detail. You have like these exclusive Pokemon that wouldn't really have existed because a lot of them are based off of man-made situations, right?
yeah, like
Um,
Porygon is literally like a computer program. Like
right.
it's the first man-made Pokemon in existence apparently.
So that and then Magnemite, which I guess like this is prior to magnets even being made or existing. Um, that's in that distortion field as well. So I haven't really thought about anything else that I've seen in there. Of course, like just random Pokemon will be in there too, like that you'd see later in the game. I think it's
Yeah,
just worth camping out in there too if like you're getting started. It's really nice to just kind of chill in there and
yeah,
catch some things that you weren't fully intended to catch at that point in time.
yeah. Just be careful, cause like you will get stuck in a situation where like because another thing about this is that more than like one Pokemon can fight you at a time. So like
Yes.
if you're stuck in there, you'll probably have like 3 or 4 45 leveled Pokemon attacking your like 36 Croagunk or something.
And that brings up a good point too. There's no like team battles really. Like so
No.
your one Pokemon will be ganged up by like multiple wild Pokemon, which I'm okay with. That's fine. But you
Yeah.
can't send out multiple of your Pokemon. That's not a feature that's in there. And AoE attacks like Earthquake and Surf don't really do that anymore. You'll even
Yeah.
see trainers like sicking three of their Pokemon out, and I'm like, how is this even fair? So I mean, technically, my Pokemon's over leveled, and I think later on it's just like you get so good, they're just like, all right, well, screw you. Here's three Pokemon at you at the same time. But um, you know, I think that that's a feature that's missing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it like um might have been like better if they kept in the area of effect thing, but like at the same time I think like that would have been a bit of a risk because you'd have to like use that attack and then immediately make your character dodge so that way they're not hit by it.
Right.
Yeah. But then it would also have been like cool to like see like let's say like you use earthquake or something and it like affects them all and like you dodge at the right time so you're not hit by it. But then like your opponent is hit by it, like your trainer their trainer is, so like they have like this brief lapse where like they like fell to the ground or something and they can't command their Pokemon, so you get like a free turn essentially.
That's dirty. That's fighting dirty, though.
It is fighting dirty, but I would have used the hell out of it.
But yeah, I mean, I think that if we're gonna go this route too, like, yeah, they need to refine those mechanics a little bit, at least to have like two of your Pokemon on the field at once.
Yeah,
Especially in like the wild area or the space time distortions. Those Pokemon are higher level, so it'd be good to have like two out if two did gang up on the end that time, or something like that. But it does make you think a little bit more strategically.
yeah.
Um,
And I'm sure that like in future games they will have like more like uh like double teams and stuff like that with these kind of future games because this is just the first one, but
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
I thought it was interesting they started with Sinnoh, by the way. You would think they would start with red and blue, but maybe like there's just been a lot like Kanto, but maybe there's been a lot of
I
Kanto lately.
think I think it's just that like they're like they listen to the fans saying like complaining for years and years about how Kanto is the only region that gets like a lot of favoritism and love, and like even in like Gen 7 they kept talking about Kanto a lot,
Yeah.
like your player character had like like Meowth that wasn't like the Alolan Meowth, and then at the end of the game, How is like, oh, you have a Cantonian Meowth. Oh, did you know that Alola is really close to Kanto? Kanto, Kanto, Kanto.
I just said that because it's the first, and then I realized, yeah, they do pay a lot of attention. So I'm not um against the idea that they did use Sinnoh because I
Yeah,
think it needs some love. But considering there was a remake and stuff now too, everyone's gonna be like, all right, so black and white remakes, like I'm
I
sure that's
I
gonna be like
kind of
people are gonna blow up social media with that now.
I kind of don't want them to remake Black and White. I just want them to like remaster them or something.
Yeah, I don't really want, like, we don't have to remake every Pokemon game, I don't think that's a requirement at this point, but now it seems like it's gonna be a trend. Was there? Oh yeah, there was Omega Ruby and Sapphire. That's right.
Yeah, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, or
Uh,
as I like to call it, Chad Groudon and Beta Male Fish.
Chad Groudon.
I just
Yes.
I love Groudon so much. Like especially in Emerald where like they go to fight and he's just like surrounded by ocean on this little shitty piece of land. And he's like 4 times weak against Kyogre anyways, and he still has the audacity to throw up hands. Uh he's so great.
So a lot of legendaries that I don't aren't fully explored, that I think that a format like this is good for.
Yeah, that's why I think that like they should do like I don't know, maybe like a Legends game for like Hoenn or Kalos even next. Like, can you imagine like medieval France or like a Hoenn region that's like flooded or like having a drought, so like some of the areas that like are underwater caverns are just above land.
Or a boring ass colonial New York.
Yeah,
I
like colonial New York or like Wild West New York. I don't know.
I don't want to linger on this for very like this next thing that I'm going to say, but like colonial America is kind of a boring setting. I think Assassin's Creed 3 tried that and it just like didn't work. It's like you have only so many options. It's forest, small little towns, and then maybe Native American settlements and stuff, which, hey, if a game developer out there can make it interesting, make it interesting. But
I don't know if it's really colonial, but I guess Fate Grand Order kind of made it work a little bit, even though it's like all just stills and stuff. Because like one of the worlds you go to in that, and yes, it's a mobile game. Shut up. One of the places you go to that like one of the time periods is like um around the time when like the American Revolution is happening. But the way that
yeah.
history has been messed up is that uh, the British have forcibly retreated after an evil Ku Klux and Celtic army invade the America during that time and start taking it
Okay.
over. So
Can't
the
be normal, right?
yeah, so it's been divided in like the west side and the east side. The east side being taken over by the Celtics, and the west side being led under great Emperor President Thomas Edison, who has a lion for a head.
Is George Washington an anime waifu?
I wish George Washington isn't in the Fate series as far as I know, but I do find it funny that they decided to have like Thomas Edison show up possessed by the spirits of all United States presidents combined, and he has a lion head for some reason.
The Fate Grand Order like universe is wild.
Oh yeah, it is.
So there's so much going on in there.
There's so much. We could do an entire episode in the future where I just talk about all this insane shit from it and listen to you react to me for an hour.
That would basically be that. So
Yeah.
leave in the comments below which your favorite Fate Grand Order gotcha card is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that's basically it. Without spoilers, like that's pretty much all I had to say about like Pokemon because I did take some time to talk about it last or like 2 podcasts ago.
Yeah, same.
But if you know you the audience I'm speaking to, if you guys are interested in like something a little bit different in the Pokemon universe, like just don't listen to like all these loud naysayers. I mean, I think it's getting mostly positive responses, and there's definitely a lot of work that's necessary here. But
Yeah.
just go ahead and check it out. If you can afford it, of course.
One
It's worth it.
Yeah, one last thing I want to say on Arceus is that I don't know if you've seen Verlisify, the infamous Verlisify's video on it, but
Nah, man.
yeah, no, he basically it's just him saying that Legends is a shit game and that it's bad and that Game Freak sucks and all that, typical stupid Verlisify stuff. But if you look at his gameplay footage, he obviously doesn't know how to play the game, and that's like the main thing wrong with it.
Wasn't he eviscerated at some point, or am I thinking of somebody else?
No,
I feel
you're
like he had
thinking
an
of, no,
evisceration.
yeah, no, you're thinking of him because like he's so disrespected in the Pokemon community that like so many people have like shit on him. My favorite thing about him is that Shofu, the legendary Shofu himself, made a diss track on him, just simply called Verlisify, in which the music video he heavily implies that Verlisify's girlfriend is his dog.
Well, that's an old one though, right?
Yeah, that's an old one. It's from like
Yeah, see, that's
2015.
how like irrelevant that man is. So like, of course he's gonna send out clickbait like that, And
Yeah, that's like
I saw somebody tweet it and say, bro, like, and then the comments are mostly like, Verlisify is still around. I haven't heard from this guy in a long time. I haven't heard this name in a long time. So
yeah,
that goes to show,
yeah,
But he's probably gonna get like a little bit more of a following now because of that controversial take. This is how the internet is.
yeah. All right, let's close the book on that. And what do we want to talk about next?
I forgot.
Yeah,
We had a topic, right?
Yeah, we had a topic. So for those of you who don't know, we always plan out our topics ahead. We try and make it sound like it's just a natural progression, but no, we do plan them out. And we were talking about our topic earlier, and we just completely forgot what it was.
Oh, I just remembered what it was.
Oh,
we want
okay,
to talk
cool.
about Netflix adaptations.
Oh,
And-
yes. Yes.
All right, now this is where everybody leaves.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess like the reason I'm bringing this up, and we're a little behind on the trend because anytime something flops, there's like 100 YouTube videos about it, and everybody like collectively has to shit on it like to a obsessive point.
Yeah,
But
to like an insane, deranged point almost.
3 hours as why the Cowboy Bebop live action sucks, but
3 hours and 47 minutes about why the live action Cowboy Bebop is the worst thing I've ever seen, and it came into my house with a shotgun and killed my dog, my whole family too. And also, it's the reason my parents got divorced.
and it stole my girlfriend while we're at it.
And my boyfriend too. She
And
didn't
both of
know I
them.
was cheating on him.
Right. We're inclusive around here.
Yeah.
So, the reason I brought this up is because Robin recently got into Cowboy Bebop. Like, he's been kind of lurking in my streams for some years now, and I remember the first time I brought this up, he was just drawing for me randomly. Like, he would do random sketches during my streams, and he asked me, "Hey, like, who do you want me to draw?" And I was like, "Oh, you should go with Faye Valentine. That's like my first big like anime crush." Even though like it was most likely Sailor Mercury that was my big crush, and then Misty after that from Pokemon. But like Faye was like the first like adult like teen. Oh my gosh, this chick is fine. But anyway, I told him to draw it, And I remember at the time he wasn't really familiar with her.
Yeah,
So
I was like, oh, she's from that Cowboy Bebop show everyone keeps telling me to watch, but I haven't seen.
so fast forward to sometime like a few months ago, Robin decided to take the plunge, like right before the live action came out. So I think you did it right, my friend.
Yeah, like
How was your anime experience with that?
it was pretty good. It was like I had shown my dad FLCL because I love that show a lot, or Fooly Cooly for those of you who don't know. I love that show a lot, and it's like one of my favorite shows of all time. And he was like, I don't really understand this, but I think I liked it. And then he was just came up to me one day and was like, you know, if you want, we can watch more shows together, even if it's like anime and stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. So
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, so I wanted to like think of an anime that I haven't seen and that he hasn't seen that I think would be sort of beginner friendly for him. And that's when I remembered Cowboy Bebop, and a lot of people said like that's a perfect starting point for people watching anime. So I was
Yeah.
like, sure, let's watch that. And so my dad and I watched the whole series together, and I think Jet became my favorite character, and he really liked Radical Edward a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, I just love the show and all of it. And then like as we sat down to watch it, they came out with the Netflix series, and I heard how much it sucked, and I was like, oh god, he's gonna make me watch this, isn't he? And yeah, we've seen the
And
first
hey,
two
son, have you
episodes.
heard of that new Cowboy Bebop live action? We just watched this show, didn't we?
No, it was like in the middle of us watching it that he was like, oh, this came out, and
Mhm.
we're gonna watch it. You don't get a say in it. So we watched the first two episodes of the live action, and
So before we get to that, I'll
yeah,
talk about my history with the show as well. Like Cowboy Bebop was one of the first anime that Adult Swim put on TV, like late at night, when they first started airing anime. I remember like they had this anime block, and I'm like, oh my god, this shit's amazing. They're saying damn and ass and blat blat, and I'm like, okay. So like I'm like a young teen at this time. I think I was like maybe like 12, 13 or whatever. Um, so yeah, they started airing like these things. Cowboy Bebop was like the showrunner though, and I don't think I ever got to watch every single episode at that time, because there wasn't a lot of streaming services, and well, there was no streaming services, but and I didn't know how to download anime illegally at that point in time. I don't do that anymore, Feds, if you're listening.
oh,
So
you mean perfectly legally?
yeah, perfectly legally. So yeah, that was my first foray in it, and I realized that like outside of like Dragon Ball Z and like a lot of the other shonen that I used to watch that used to air on Toonami, Adult Swim kind of had like more mature stories that I was into, and I think Cowboy Bebop was that first foray for me, um, where like it was very self-contained and very short. I wasn't used to anime being like 6 episodes, 26 episodes or so.
Yeah, it's 26, I think.
Right. So like very digestible, very easy. Like even if you missed a few episodes, whatever, they're gonna air them again at some point. But it's also like something that you could miss a couple of episodes and you'd be fine. Like you get to the same ending point, which is why I think it's so genius. It's not about this overarching huge plot, even though it does have like quite the climax at the end. It's literally about just people living their everyday lives, um, just trying to run away from the past, and then how they all come to collectively face it individually, I guess, if that makes sense. Collectively, individually face their past.
Yeah.
And then like just like that, it's over. It's like I think it's a great experience for anyone that's trying to get into anime, because it's not like there's not a lot of cliches. Even though Faye has huge breasts, there's a reason for it. Like she uses that to her advantage in the world.
She's
It's
a
kind of
femme
dog eat dog.
fatale. She's like a
Yeah,
femme fatale character.
but it's not as cliche as like things now where there's like ass and tit shots in like every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I recommend it, and I think the reason we brought it up is because we wanted to talk about our experiences with the live action. So, Robin, this is mine. I watched the first episode and then fell asleep in the second, and then never finished it.
That's fair. We haven't watched the rest of the series yet, but we have seen like the first two, I think 3 episodes, unless I'm mistaken. I don't know. I kind of tend to black them out after I finish them. But like, I remember I finished one of the episodes. Oh yeah, no, we did watch 3 episodes because I remember specifically the second episode pissing me the hell off. Because so for those of you who don't know, they wrote it weird where like they take bits and pieces from the show and they kind of like mishmash them in a quote unquote original way.
Right.
So where it's all different. And one of the ways they did it is in the second episode of the series, they decided to completely and utterly butcher my favorite one-off villain from the original series, which was Teddy Bomber. Which I guess spoilers for those of you who care, but like the whole point of Teddy Bomber is that he's like this kind of like he's this terrorist who uses like these teddy bears that have bombs in them, and he blows up like buildings that are like skyscrapers or like they're important or something like an office building, but he specifically does it to like in a way where he makes sure that no one is in the building when the bomb goes off, so that way he doesn't hurt anyone. He just wants to like send a message essentially. And in that episode, it begins with Spike almost catching him until the character Cowboy Andy, who's another bounty hunter who's kind of incompetent at what he does and has like kind of the same personality as Spike almost, comes in and ruins it. And as the show goes on, or as the episode goes on, I mean, it becomes less and less about them trying to collect the bounty on Teddy Bomber and more about Spike and Cowboy Andy just one-upping each other until they finally just forget about the bounty entirely by the end of the episode and just fight each other.
Right.
And what I love about that episode is that what I like about Teddy Bomber specifically is that he's just like a guy who, you know, he has his mission and like that he wants to do or whatever. Like, you know, I think it was like to bring awareness to like the society changes or something. He does it in like this beautiful speech because like throughout the episode he's like, I'm gonna tell you why I'm doing all of this, but he just keeps getting cut off, and it shows how like Spike can be like a kind of like arrogant and ignorant person even in the face of like this serial bomber who's like right next to him. And by the end of it, he's just done, and he like willingly goes to the police, and when he explains his philosophy or whatever, they're like, "Oh, cool." It's like, you know, I don't know. It's just like, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the second episode of the live action movie, or not live action movie, but the live action show, Teddy Bomber is the main guy that they go after, and immediately right off the bat they show footage of him blowing up a building that has people in it. So already they betrayed his entire character. And then they show,
and
yeah.
they did very similar things with like other one-off characters from that, right? And
Yeah.
I guess that brings up the question, like, you know, how far should a Netflix adaptation go with the plot? Should it be like 1-to-1, or what kind of creative liberties? Honestly, like, I'd prefer that they don't do these things in the first place, because
Yeah.
I was
Honestly.
jaded off of Death Note when that came out. Bro,
I
like,
just-
the worst.
I think that Hollywood needs to stay the fuck away from Japanese properties because they're always gonna fuck it up. I mean, Scarlett Johansson in that Ghost of the Shell movie, like, it's
No,
stupid.
I don't even think that's the worst example.
No,
But
I mean, no,
that
but
is
it
one
is-
of them.
There is a very cringe moment in that movie, and that is where like they got like backlash because the main character. I haven't seen the original Ghost in the Shell. I know, crucify me for like not being cultured, but like from what I understand, the character that she played is like a robot or like an android, right? And
Yeah.
people on Twitter and stuff complain that they cast Scarlett Johansson when they should have got like an Asian woman
Yes.
or whatever. And I guess to kind of like remedy that in the movie, they have this scene where Scarlett Johansson's character meets her mother, who is an Asian woman, and they like explain that Scarlett Johansson, who is like a robot or something, is like a cyborg or something.
She's a cyborg, I
Yeah,
think.
she's like a cyborg. She has like an Asian brain in the body of a white woman or something,
So
and it's
they
very
changed her
fucking weird.
face literally. Is that
Yeah,
what like they were
it's
trying to get
it's
at?
it's really fucking weird, and I was like, when I heard that and I saw that clip of that scene, I was like, what the fuck? This is the weirdest thing ever.
And fast forward to Death Note, where they made Light Yagami, who is the
I'm sorry.
character, the main villain in Death Note, right? If
I'm sorry, I can't take that movie seriously because every time they say Netflix Death Note, I think of that guy who's supposed to be light with his like Zoomer haircut and like
yeah,
the normal people scare me shirt.
it's awful. Like I was like, okay, this is an American version. They call him Light Turner, by the way. They changed his last name for whatever reason. Okay, you want to base it in America? All right, fine, Light Turner, right? And they cast Willem Dafoe as Ryuk, which I think was a great choice, by the way. His
Yeah, that
voice kind of
actually
nails that.
I'm okay with that one. That's actually it kind of works.
But the plot, like, it's a movie. First of all, like, you can't tell the Death Note story in a movie unless you have multiple movies. You know, it's not something that can be summed up in a couple of hours. And they took a lot of creative liberties with it, and Light in that was just
He's
very
just
idiotic, right?
he's just a coward.
So in the anime, Light is like
He's this cunning,
everything under the sun.
intelligent,
He's
like
yeah, he's
he's
intelligent,
cunning.
he's cunning, he's a womanizer. He uses people,
He's
manipulates
like
people.
he's like a manipulative little bastard. And then in the
a-
Netflix version, he's just a pussy.
And he gets manipulated in it.
Yeah,
You know, like so
yeah,
they use Misa, who is like his, girlfriend in the anime, I guess. Like
yeah. Which he like states multiple times in the anime, like in those like anime character like thinking portions, he like talks about how he doesn't care about Misa at all and how he thinks that she's annoying and he's clearly just using her because she's like this massive fangirl of him.
right, quick spoilers by the way. Misa has access to like another Death Note.
Yeah.
So and this is kind of happens in the first half of the series. So he meets her, manages to, get her on his side and manipulates her like and uses her as like a second person who's using the Death Note to kill criminals, etc. and stuff, and just that's basically her use, right? And he's using her so he doesn't get caught as well. And in the movie version, like they're like Bonnie and Clyde type of people, and Misa turns into this person where she's the one controlling Light, and he's like madly in love with her, where he doesn't give a shit about like the Death Note stuff anymore. Like she's the one that's obsessed with it, and she had like what a way to change everything. Like I mean, I don't know.
Wow.
I can get behind like liberties, creative liberties, because I think when you translate an anime to a realistic or real live action thing, you're gonna have to do things more realistically so they don't look weird and cringy.
Yeah.
But these people aren't getting like the basic plot lines down. Like some of the visuals in Cowboy Bebop actually look pretty nice. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna
Like
lie.
I'll admit I do like the visual style of the live action Cowboy Bebop, especially their like dedication to like this what the 80s thought was going to be the future
Yeah,
kind of look with like all these switches and dials and stuff and uh,
and Cowboy Bebop as an anime was very much like that. It was
yeah,
like
it was very
very
much like that
junky
too.
but futuristic at the same time. But
Yeah,
like everything was like a piece of shit,
yeah,
or it looked like it at least.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, I can see why they took that approach, which I don't have an issue with. And I heard the actors also try their best to do what they can with the script, especially the actor who plays Jet.
yeah.
And
I think Jet's actor like was probably the best on the show. I what I don't like is that like the guy who played Spike very obviously was not an action actor.
Yeah, John
Like,
Cho. Yeah, he was
yeah,
he was like more of a comedian at first. He was like in Harold and Kumar and stuff.
yeah,
Um, I
he's
just it was such a weird casting choice in my
yeah,
opinion. Even though
like
he tries his best, but he's like
yeah,
on the older side now too.
yeah, like even like my dad like called it out like that he like wasn't good at action stuff because like there's like this part where like they're at like this construction site area and like Spike slides down this thing and he's like my dad like pointed out to me, he was like, look, he's not even sliding, he's just kind of scooting down the conveyor thing.
So there's something I wanted to bring up regarding Jet. By the way, I was sorry, I was looking that up.
It's all right.
Yeah, I heard some of the stunts were like a little bit limited because of that guy. Okay,
Yeah.
so Jet's actor is named Mustafa Shakir, right? And he recently played like a few years ago. He was the Bushmaster villain in Luke Cage, and that was like one of the parts of that season that everybody liked too. So I think this guy has a lot of potential. It just sucks he gets wrapped up in these projects that are like getting canceled, you know, because I think
Yeah.
he has some acting chops on him.
Yeah, he's obviously like a very talented actor, and I want to see him like go places. But like,
Right.
he just keeps picking not good roles.
Yeah. But I love the idea that he's, you know, doing the most with them. I'm sure somebody out there has probably seen him in other roles, but those are the two main ones that I've seen him in.
Yeah,
So I want to see him do well as well because he seems to really like care about the roles that he picks, even if the writing kind of limits him a little bit.
yeah. And also, I didn't want to bring this up, but I know that there's the potential of some dumbass out there thinking that it matters. Uh, yes, Jet is black in the live action Cowboy Bebop. No, that doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. So actually, I think that he actually still looks like Jet.
Yeah, he still looks like Jet, honestly,
um,
especially with like the beard that he has going on, where it kind of like you know what I mean, like kind of like juts out to the side in like a triangle shape.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the way that they cut the hair and stuff, and like they have the little scar under his eye, like it fits him.
yeah, it does. He looks like Jet, honestly.
And
Like if
on the what's funny enough is that you mentioned that there's like a really off color joke
yeah,
in the series.
in the third episode is like
Um,
because his name is, for those of you who don't know, his name is Jet Black, and he's they call him in like the main show like because he's an ex-cop. Spoilers. They called him like when he was a cop. They called him the black dog that bites and never lets go because of how good he was at catching criminals. And in the live action episode, episode 3 of the live action, they just decide to make those into like weird sex jokes, I guess.
so
Or like
here's the one I'm thinking of, right?
yeah,
Jet's talking to like an older lady. I am not sure what the context is, but he says to her, "Sounds to me like blackmail," because I think whatever
yeah,
they're talking about, she's pitching something, right? He says,
yeah.
"Sounds to me like blackmail," and her response is, damn right it is, because Jet, you are black and you are male."
I
What
like I looked
the
at my dad when I said that, and I physically cringed. Like I was like, "Oh, I hate that so much." And he like,
Ricky, can we put that lady on screen? And no,
"Can you
don't
just
actually don't
no?
shame the actress.
Don't shame the actress. Just put the clip in."
Sounds to me like blackmail.
You're damn right it is, because Jet, you are black and you are male.
Put the clip in.
Yeah.
Show him.
Okay. Yeah. Okay,
Anyway,
so
that's
now that
awful
you've
acting
yeah,
right there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't. It's not a good line. it's
All right, it's bad writing, not
it's
bad,
bad
acting,
writing.
but bad
It's not bad
writing.
yeah, not bad
Yeah.
acting, but it is horrible writing.
So,
it's like something
and-
you read in a fan fiction almost.
you know what? I'm glad that you said that because You know, sometimes like you're playing some games and you're like, man, this feels very fanficky. You know, like when you get to that territory, it puts a bad taste in your mouth overall.
Yeah, it does.
I want to talk about one last Netflix adaptation that is not out yet, and that's One Piece. And I'm extremely nervous about it.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm one of those people who's like One Piece seems interesting, but fuck that, I'm not watching all those episodes. You know,
Right.
like it's like it's such a long list that at this point I'm like, you could put a gun to me and be like, you have to watch every single episode of One Piece, and I'd say just shoot me because I don't want to do it.
So, I mean, normally how to get around that, like, people just read, or there is like a team out there that's actually trimming down all the fat and filler from like the episodes. And there's not a lot of One Piece filler, but there are episodes where they do like long shots of like destruction and people's reaction to things, and they've cut all that out to like match panel for panel in the comic or the manga. So shout out to the One Piece team. Like they do hard work, and definitely like a nice trimmed down One Piece experience. You're still gonna be watching a lot of episodes, but
Yeah,
you know, I recommend anyone that wants to start. It's about the journey, not catching up.
most I've seen is Nun Piece, that parody series.
Is that by the unabridged people?
It's by
I
Purple
mean, the
Eyes.
abridged.
Yeah, it's by Purple Eyes WTF, who also did Code Ment, which has that infamous soup store clip. Put in the clip
Ah,
of
yes.
that Ricky.
There's still soup! Where are you right now? I'm at soup! What do you mean you're at soup? I mean I'm at soup! What store are you in? I'm at the soup store! Why are you buying clothes at the soup store? Fuck you!
Yes. So, like, I brought up One Piece because they recently cast, you know, the main set of pirates, like the first 5 that join. And I can kind of tell what season 1 is going to be. It's going to, you know, introduce all those characters, and that's like the core set of the Straw Hat Pirates. I saw that their little introduction, and while like some of them I can see as the characters, it's very hard to like pin down someone like Luffy as a character. Like seeing him in live action can like almost be cringy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's just it's very tight and sharp writing, plus a very good voice acting performance from Mayumi Tanaka, who also voiced Krillin in Dragon Ball Z, by the way. They just get it, right? So seeing it in live action, that goofiness of the character is gonna be missing, and it's gonna make it. I feel like it's just a lot of room for it to be cringe. So I'm a little afraid, you know, but like this is gonna be one of the most expensive shows ever made, like topping Game of Thrones money per episode.
what I'm afraid of is the special effects, because I know Luffy has like his ability to like stretch his body and stuff, and he has like his, I think it's called Gum Gum Punch, where he like spins his arm around like the kid on a playground would, and then he like punches and it stretches out his arm really far, like he's Mr. Fantastic or something. I'm terrified of seeing how they're gonna do that in live action with like CGI and stuff.
Yeah, that's it's as we've learned from the previous Fantastic Four movie, there's no way to make Mr. Fantastic look cool. Like the people who have read the comics will disagree. They're like, "Oh man, Reed Richards has done some crazy shit," and it's like, yeah, but in the movies though, it's not translated very well, which is why that's my concern about Luffy, and I hope they kind of get that right. Like even the sound effects in One Piece are on point with the rubber. It sounds like it hurts, you know, like it's convincing to me that there's a lot of strength in that punch. Plus it's being projectile by like your elasticity. So I hope they get that right. It's just such a weird world, you know, and people accept that because it's One Piece and it fits. But like if you're gonna do like a live action, much like Death Note and Cowboy Bebop, which are already more realistic anime than One Piece, I'm very afraid of that.
Yeah, like, I mean, who knows? Maybe by some miracle they'll be like, okay, for some reason we can't do the more realistic ones, but we can nail these goofy ones like One Piece really well for some reason, and it's like, okay, cool, good on you if you can make it work, but I don't think they're gonna make it work personally.
I think my approach to it, if I were in charge, is just lean in 100% wacky and just be fully self-aware that this shit is wacky.
Yeah,
And
like the Gintama live action movies that they made in Japan, where like
yeah,
I don't know if you know much about Gintama, but the whole series of Gintama is that it's a parody of shonen anime and just anime in general, and all the characters will break the fourth wall and stuff. There's a very famous clip where the main character Gintoki explains what filler is in a filler episode of the anime, and he then immediately states that he only explained what filler was to waste time in the episode. And
I was watching a lot of Gintama, and I suggest it to anyone that's looking for something lighthearted. I think it's like
yeah,
one of the top comedies.
yeah, one of my favorite ones. I haven't watched it in a while, and I need to get back into it. But like one of my favorite jokes in one of the episodes is like they just go about the episode normally, and then halfway through it, Gintoki is like, "What's wrong with you all? Everything is so behind schedule. We haven't even played the intro yet." And then they immediately do the anime opening.
I think there's an episode that's actually very Death Note inspired,
Yeah,
and it's more like it takes that psychological approach. So they're all sitting around like they're all broke, by the way. So for
yeah,
the
they're all
context,
broke.
the whole thing is like they're super broke. They work on like odd jobs for people, but they don't get paid a lot, right? So they're always like starving or whatever, and they're always eating like shit. So
Yeah.
these people are all at the house, and like they have this landlord, this old lady downstairs, and whatever. So I think Gintoki managed to get a little bit of cash to afford some meat to bring home,
Yeah,
and they cook it in like this hot pot in the center of the room. And like slowly everybody just starts to figure out who's gonna get most of the meat in that hot pot. And like everyone is just like psychologically battling each other to be the kindest person, but also get the most amount of food. So like there's a lot of like internal dialogue, much like Death Note, where Light will say something and then he's thinking something else, and L's saying something and he's thinking something else, and they're like trying to one up each other.
yeah,
It's very much like that, where they're just surrounded by this bowl, and like Gintoki's like, if I'm too nice about this, then I'm not gonna get any meat. So I have to be like a little bit nice, but somewhat passive aggressive, so that I can actually get first dibs. And so like they're like constantly battling each other out with like this kindness and this weird Japanese like culture, like this
Yeah.
slapdash thing together. It's hilarious. I think it's like the beginning of season 2 or whatever, but I haven't gotten very far. I heard it gets a lot better, and I wanted to continue watching that too.
yeah. I just love that like they did a live action Gintama movie, and like they started out like the first 20 minutes of the movie. They started out like how Gintama actually starts, but then they like stop it like mid mid film, and they're like, hey, if you want to know like all of this stuff, then just go watch the anime, and then they just go ahead and do their own original story through the rest of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, unless One Piece like totally leans into something like that, like you just mentioned, well, not that much where they're breaking
Yeah.
the fourth wall like
Yeah.
entirely, because One Piece, as goofy as it is a serious story.
Yeah.
Like, I think they should just lean into the goofiness and just like kind of take over where the other Netflix adaptations failed. And I think the only thing, like, people like the casting choices, which is good. It's a cool thing. People like the director, who apparently is a huge One Piece fan, and Oda himself, the creator of One Piece, had a large part in it, and said that he took quite a while to find the right people, but now he's comfortable with who he selected. So
Yeah. So I hope that means good things then. But
maybe we get our first good anime adaptation.
maybe. Let's hope. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or is that about it?
I want to talk about my day. No, I'm just kidding.
So there's this guy at work who's being a real dickhead.
Real jerk. I mean, I can't name drop here. Or maybe I can. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I can't name drop anything. John Smith in accounting.
John Smith in accounting. You know who you are. You know my name too. You recognize my voice. No, I think I'm good, man. You
All
want
right.
to bring us home unless you have like any last few words. Audience, you have anything to say to us?
Say something in the comments below. YouTube.
I was waiting for them to respond.
Oh,
Oh well.
my bad. I cut you guys off. I'm sorry. But that's gonna call it for today's episode. Episode 12? Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. 12. Episode 12.
Episode 12.
Yeah. Thank you all
Hell
for
yeah.
joining. Thank you all for joining and listening. We will see you all later.
Peace.